No, I will not marry you.
Naomi was the only daughter of Chief Obina, one of the richest men in the city. At just 23 years old, she lived like a queen. She had everything: golden necklaces, expensive cars, shining clothes, and servants who bowed before her. When she walked into a shop, people whispered her name. When she entered a party, heads turned and all eyes followed her beauty. But behind her shining crown of riches, Naomi carried a secret pain. From the day she was born, Naomi's life had been marked by a terrible condition. At any time, anywhere, without warning, she would fall to the ground, shaking and twisting like a leaf in the wind. Her mouth would foam, her eyes rolled back, her teeth clenched. It was a seizure, a sickness she could not escape. Her father, Chief Obina, spent millions taking her to the best hospitals, calling the finest doctors. Yet, nothing worked. No matter how far they traveled, this sickness always returned. When the seizure came, it brought shame. It disgraced her in public places, it embarrassed her before her friends, and it broke her into pieces. Many people feared her, others mocked her, some even whispered that her father used her for blood money. Naomi pretended not to care. In public, she raised her chin, her voice sharp, her pride high. She laughed at poor people and spoke with arrogance to her servants. She acted as though nothing could touch her. But when the world went quiet, when night fell, Naomi's pride melted into tears. She would sit in her golden room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her crown of beauty felt heavy, her diamonds felt useless. She would press her hands to her face and cry silently. God, why me? She whispered into the darkness. Why did you make me like this? I have money, I have beauty, I have everything, but I am not free. Why me? The sound of her sobs filled the empty room, but no answer came. And so, Naomi lived two lives. In the daylight, she was the arrogant princess who mocked others, but in the quiet of her nights, she was a broken girl, drowning in shame and begging for a miracle. Her story was only beginning. Far away from the shining mansions of Chief Obina's house, near the noisy market square, lived a young man named Johnson. He was only 25 years old, tall, strong, and very handsome. But life had broken him in a way that left scars deeper than the eye could see. Every morning, before the first cock crowed, Johnson carried a small broom in his hand and walked into the market. He bent low, sweeping the ground as though he was dusting his own shame away. By the time traders arrived, the whole place would be clean, shining like new. Yet, instead of respect, laughter followed him like a shadow. "Is that not Dr. Johnson?" one meat seller shouted one morning. Doctor had turned to a cleaner, another added, clapping his hands mockingly. Women giggled, children pointed, men shook their heads. But Johnson never raised his voice, never cursed back. He simply bowed his head, gripping his broom tighter. Few knew his story. Johnson was once a brilliant doctor, one of the best in the city hospital. His hands had saved many lives, and his name was respected in every ward. But envy and corruption are wicked spirits. A senior doctor framed him, accusing Johnson of stealing hospital drugs. No one listened to his cry of innocence. He was thrown out, his license stripped away, his reputation destroyed. That day, he walked home with nothing but a small wooden box in his hand. Inside the box were his old medical tools. a stethoscope, some syringes, and a tiny white bottle of Chinese medicine he had once studied. He kept the box like a treasure chest, hiding it under his bed. Sometimes at night, he would bring it out, stare at it, and whisper, "This is who I am. I am not just a cleaner." But the world did not see that. To them, Johnson was just a poor market sweeper, a failure who had fallen from the top to the dust. Still, he remained humble. He swept, he cleaned, he survived. But inside his heart, a fire refused to die. He believed that one day, somehow, his gift as a healer would rise again. And so, while Naomi sat in her golden room crying, Johnson knelt on the dusty market floor, broom in hand, carrying both shame and hope. Two broken souls, two different worlds. But fate was already preparing to cross their paths. The sun was bright that afternoon when Naomi stepped out of her father's long black car. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale. Her golden dress glittered, her shoes shone like glass, and her hair bounced with every step she took. Around her, three of her friends followed, laughing loudly and carrying their small handbags. They walked into the new restaurant in town, heads turning as people admired them. Naomi loved the attention. She raised her chin, her smile sharp, her eyes proud. "Let them look," she whispered to her friends. "Beauty is for those who can afford it." The waiter rushed to their table with a bow. Plates of steaming rice, fried meat, and cold drinks arrived. Naomi laughed, telling stories, showing off her diamond ring, her designer bag, her phone that sparkled with gold. Her friends clapped and giggled. But in the middle of her laughter, something changed. Naomi's hand trembled. The glass of juice she held slipped from her fingers and crashed to the floor. Her eyes rolled back, her body stiffened. "Naomi!" one friend shouted, but it was too late. Her whole body shook violently. She fell to the ground, twisting, kicking, her dress tearing. White foam spilled from her mouth, her teeth clenched tight. Gasps filled the restaurant. Chairs scattered. People stood in shock. "Jesus, what's happening to her?" someone shouted. "No, don't touch her," another warned. "Abomination," a woman whispered, dragging her daughter away. Naomi's friends screamed and backed away, their hands covering their mouths. None of them bent down to help her. They were afraid of shame, afraid of the sickness, afraid of her. Naomi's body struck the table leg, bruising her arm. She banged against the cold tiles, shaking helplessly as strangers stood watching. Some laughed cruelly, others whispered in pity, but no one moved closer. Chief Obina's daughter, the princess of riches, was lying on the floor before everyone, disgraced. Minutes felt like hours. Slowly, the seizure stopped. Naomi's body grew weak, her eyes wet with tears. She could hear the whispers, feel the stares, and taste the shame in her mouth. Her friends adjusted their clothes, pretending not to know her. They quietly slipped out of the restaurant one by one, leaving Naomi alone on the cold floor. Naomi lifted her face, her hair scattered, her dress torn, and her pride broken. Tears rolled down her cheeks. In that moment, she was not the arrogant princess. She was only a broken girl drowning in shame. Her nightmare was not ending. It was only growing. The mansion of Chief Obina was silent that evening. Heavy silence. Naomi sat in the center of the grand living room, her eyes swollen from crying, her torn dress hidden under a shawl. Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand, whispering soft words of comfort. Chief Obinna paced back and forth like a lion in a cage. His face was dark with worry, his chest rising and falling with anger. "I cannot take this shame anymore!" he shouted, his voice shaking the chandelier above. "Everywhere I go, people whisper behind me. They say my only daughter is cursed. They say I used her for money. Enough!" Naomi lowered her head, her tears falling silently on the marble floor. Her mother, with red eyes, spoke softly. "We have tried everything, my husband. Every hospital, every doctor, every church. Nothing has worked. Perhaps we must do the unthinkable." Chief Obinna stopped pacing. He turned slowly, his eyes fixed on his wife. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled. "Let us make a promise. Any doctor, any man who can heal Naomi will not only be rewarded with riches, but he shall marry her." Naomi's head shot up, her eyes wide. "Marry? Mother, no!" she cried. Her father raised his hand. "Quiet, Naomi." His deep voice filled the hall. "This is the only way. If healing comes, it must come with honor. Whoever saves you will not only receive wealth, but he will also take you as wife. That is my word." The guards standing at the doorway bowed their heads. The servants exchanged nervous glances. The mansion itself seemed to echo with the weight of his vow. Naomi trembled, her heart beating fast. She thought of dirty streets, of poor men with empty pockets. She thought of market boys with dust on their skin. Her lips tightened, her pride burning inside. At last she whispered, "Fine, I agree." She forced the words out slowly. "But hear me, father. I will never marry a poor man. Never. If some wretched beggar claims to heal me, I will deny him. I will laugh in his face." Her mother looked at her with pity. Chief Obinna clenched his fist, unaware of the storm that was already waiting outside the mansion. And so, the secret offer was sealed. The news would soon spread like fire in dry grass, a promise that could change Naomi's life forever or destroy it completely. The sun was hot, shining bright on the busy road as Naomi's long black car rolled to a stop. Inside, Naomi sat like a queen, wearing a flowing red gown and dark sunglasses that covered half her face. Beside her, her driver focused on the road, steering carefully through the noisy crowd. Suddenly, Naomi leaned forward. "Stop here," she ordered. The driver slowed. "Madam, this is the market side. You know it is not safe for you. Let me drive you straight home." Naomi frowned, her voice sharp. "I said stop. I want to buy apples." The driver hesitated. "Please, Madam Naomi, think about your condition. What if—" "Are you deaf? I want apples. Park this car now." The driver had no choice. He pulled to the side of the road. Naomi opened the door, her heels clicking against the dusty ground. People turned their heads immediately. Some whispered, some bowed, others simply stared. The arrogant princess of Chief Obinna's mansion was walking into their midst. She moved straight to the fruit woman's stall, her gown swaying, her perfume filling the air. The woman's hand shook as she picked the best apples and placed them into a bag. Naomi opened her small golden purse to pay. Then it happened again. Her fingers stiffened. The purse slipped from her hand. Her eyes rolled back, and before anyone could understand, Naomi's body collapsed onto the dusty ground. "Jesus, it has started again!" someone shouted. Her body shook violently, her legs kicking hard. Foam poured from her mouth, spraying across the fruit stand. She rolled into the basket of apples, sending them flying across the market. The woman screamed as her stall scattered. Naomi's hair loosened, her gown tore against the sharp wood of the stall. She banged against the ground, twisting like a fish out of water. People gathered quickly, forming a circle around her. Some gasped, some laughed cruelly. Others held their children back. "Don't go close to her," one man shouted. "She is cursed," another whispered. "Chief Obinye used her for blood money," a woman added, shaking her head. But no one bent down to help her. Naomi's hands struck the ground again and again. Her knees hit the dirt, bruising. Her face twisted in pain. Her eyes were wide with silent screams, but her body would not obey her. The market square trembled with noise, but Naomi was alone, trapped in her suffering. Would she die here, in the dust, before the eyes of strangers who only mocked her? The question hung heavy in the air as her body shook harder. Her time was running out. The market was in chaos. Naomi's golden earrings scattered into the sand as her hands twisted like dry sticks. People shouted, but no one stepped forward. But then Johnson pushed through the people. His shirt was faded and his trousers were dusty from sweeping. The crowd laughed when they saw him. "Ah, see the market cleaner," someone mocked. "What can a poor sweeper do? She needs a real doctor, not this failure," someone else shouted. But Johnson did not listen. He knelt beside Naomi. Her face had turned pale, her lips trembling. He pressed his hand gently on her forehead, and his eyes narrowed with worry. "She's not cursed. She only needs help." The crowd only laughed louder. "Doctor turned cleaner," they chanted. But Johnson ignored them. He quickly stood. "Wait here," he said to Naomi as he ran down a narrow path through the market. Some people scoffed. "He has run away." But within minutes, Johnson returned, breathing hard. In his hand was a small brown bottle, its label faded from years of use. It was one of his old Chinese medicines, a treasure he never let go. He opened the cap with shaky hands, knelt again, and gently lifted Naomi's head. Her eyes rolled weakly, her breath shallow. Johnson poured a few drops into her mouth. For a moment, nothing happened. The crowd watched, waiting to mock him again. But then Naomi's chest heaved. Her body stopped shaking. Slowly her eyes opened. She gasped for air, coughing, then sat up. The crowd froze in silence. A woman dropped her basket of oranges. A child whispered, "This is a miracle." Naomi looked around dazed and weak, but alive. Johnson wiped his forehead, his hands trembling. He looked at her softly, with no pride, no boasting, only relief. The people could not believe it. Whispers spread like fire. Did the cleaner just heal her? Impossible. How? And in that stunned silence, Naomi's eyes met Johnson's for the first time. Her heart skipped, but the crowd was already buzzing louder and louder, like a storm about to break. Word spread quickly through the town. Before the sun went down, the news had already reached Chief Obina's grand mansion. His daughter, Naomi, the one no doctor could save, had been healed in the middle of the noisy market. The chief's guards rushed through the town, their red caps shining, their boots striking the ground. They stopped right in front of Johnson, who was back to sweeping dust from the market floor. "Hey, you!" one of them barked. "The chief demands your presence at once." The people around watched with wide eyes. Some whispered, "Ah, his luck has finally changed." Others scoffed. What reward can come to a cleaner? Johnson stood, brushed the dirt off his trousers, and followed them. His heart beat fast. Maybe this was the moment his life would turn around. Maybe the chief would see his worth. He clutched his little brown medicine bottle in his pocket like it was a shield. The chief's mansion rose tall, with white pillars, golden gates, and soldiers guarding every corner. Johnson felt small as he stepped inside the wide hall, where the air smelled of perfume and roasted goat meat. Chief Obinna sat on a high chair, his heavy red cap glittering. Beside him sat Naomi, dressed in a silk gown, her face glowing with pride. "So," the chief began, his deep voice filling the hall, "you are the man who saved my daughter." Johnson bowed low. "Yes, chief. I only did what I could." The chief smiled faintly, but before he could speak further, Naomi's sharp voice cut through the air. "Father," she said, flipping her braided hair over her shoulder, "this man did nothing. I fainted, yes, but I was already recovering. People are exaggerating." Johnson froze, staring at her in shock. "But he began. Naomi raised her chin, her eyes cold. "Father, how can a poor market cleaner heal me when trained doctors could not? Look at him. He is dirty. He is nothing." The chief's smile faded. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Johnson's chest tightened. The words felt like stones thrown at him. He bowed his head, his voice caught in his throat. Naomi leaned close to her father. "Do not embarrass our family by rewarding this man. People will laugh at us." And just like that, the chief's hopeful gaze dimmed. Silence filled the hall. Johnson stood there, humiliated, his dreams slipping away like water through open fingers. Yet in his pocket, his fingers tightened around the little brown bottle. He did not speak. He did not argue. He stood, the silent hero, unseen, unthanked. But deep inside, the fire of destiny had just been lit. Naomi's laugh cut through the wide hall like a sharp knife. It was not the laughter of joy, but the cruel sound of mockery. She pointed at Johnson, her gold bracelets jingling. "Father," she said, her voice dripping with pride, "how can you even think of rewarding this man? Me? Marry a poor market cleaner? God forbid! I would rather die than join my life with such filth." The chief shifted uneasily on his high chair. He had already ordered his steward to bring out a fat envelope with 500,000 naira inside. He wanted to reward Johnson at least for trying. But Naomi stepped forward and snatched the envelope from the steward's hands. "No, father," she declared, holding the envelope tight against her chest. "If you give this money to him, people will laugh at us. They will say your daughter's life was saved by a beggar. I cannot allow it." The hall fell silent. The guards looked at one another, but said nothing. Even Chief Obinna, the mighty man, could not challenge his stubborn daughter. His eyes dropped with shame. Johnson stood still, his shoulders heavy, his face pale. He wanted to speak, to defend himself, but the words refused to come out. Instead, he gave a small bow. His hands trembled as he held the little medicine bottle inside his pocket. Naomi smirked and turned her face away, her nose lifted high. To her, he was invisible now, just another poor man who had dared to touch her life. Slowly, Johnson walked out of the mansion. The golden gate closed behind him with a loud clang that echoed in his heart. The evening breeze felt colder than ever. His legs felt heavy as he dragged himself through the dusty road back to his little room. When he finally sat on his wooden stool, his eyes burned with unshed tears. He whispered to himself, his voice breaking, "Maybe I shouldn't have saved her. Maybe it was better to let her die. His hand tightened around the bottle of medicine until his knuckles turned white. For the first time, doubt entered his heart. But outside, far away in the chief's mansion, Naomi laughed again, proud and blind to the storm that fate was quietly preparing. The night after his shame at the chief's mansion, Johnson sat alone in his small broken room. The lantern light flickered, casting long shadows on the cracked walls. His chest was heavy, his mind replaying Naomi's cruel laughter over and over again. Then suddenly, ring, ring. His small phone, which hardly ever rang, buzzed on the wooden table. Johnson frowned, picked it up, and placed it against his ear. "Hello? Is this Dr. Johnson Eze?" a calm voice asked. Johnson sat up straight. His heart skipped. Yes, this is Johnson." The voice continued. "This is from Silver Cross Pharmacy in the city. We heard about your work years ago and also what you did in the market. We want to meet you. Can you come tomorrow?" Johnson froze, his mouth wide open. His hands trembled as he whispered, Yes, sir. I will be there." That night, for the first time in many years, he knelt on his mat and prayed. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "God, maybe you still remember me," he said softly. The next morning, Johnson boarded a bus to the city. His old brown shirt was washed and neatly ironed, though the collar was frayed. When he stepped into the tall glass building of Silver Cross Pharmacy, he felt like a man stepping into another world. The manager, a tall man in a black suit, shook his hand firmly. "We read your old research papers. You are so brilliant, Dr. Johnson. We believe in you. Come, work with us. We will give you a house, a car, and the respect you deserve." Johnson's eyes widened. His breath caught in his throat. A new house? A car? Respect? He could hardly believe it. In just 1 week, his life transformed. He moved into a clean, furnished apartment with shining tiles and soft chairs. A small silver car stood proudly in front of his gate. He wore fine suits now and people greeted him with respect in the streets. The same man who once swept dust now signed papers in a bright office with air conditioning humming softly. But in his heart, Johnson remained humble. He still kept his old medicine bottle on his desk, a reminder of where he had come from. As the city light shone through his window, Johnson looked into the mirror. For the first time in many years, he smiled. From dust to dignity, a new beginning had begun. Naomi sat like a queen in the wide living room of her father's mansion. The golden curtains danced gently with the evening breeze. Soft music played in the background as she lifted a glass of red wine and crossed her legs proudly. Her friends surrounded her, laughing loudly as they admired her diamond necklace and the sparkling rings on her fingers. "I told you," Naomi said with a proud smile, "money can solve anything. Look at me, strong, beautiful, and free. That sickness is gone forever. Who says money cannot buy everything?" Her friends clapped and cheered. One of them, a slim girl with long braids, leaned forward and said, "Naomi, you are truly blessed. Your father is powerful, your mother is respected, and now you have no more shame. You are untouchable." Naomi laughed proudly, her voice echoing in the room. She tossed her long black hair and sipped her wine again. "I'm untouchable," she repeated, her eyes shining with arrogance. But as she lowered the glass back to the table, something strange happened. Her hand shook slightly. The wine spilled a little, dropping red stains onto the white carpet. Naomi, are you okay? Another friend asked quickly. Naomi's smile froze, but only for a second. She quickly placed the glass down, waved her hand, and forced the laugh. It's nothing. The wine is strong, that's all. Her friends laughed with her, but a shadow crossed Naomi's eyes. Deep inside, a small fear whispered, "What if it comes back?" She pushed the thought away, stood up, and spread her hands like a queen giving orders. "Come, let's dance. Tonight we celebrate my freedom." The music grew louder. Her friends jumped up, clapping and shaking their bodies. Naomi danced in the center, her face full of pride. She raised her hands high and twirled like she owned the world. But the truth was hiding beneath her smile. For a moment, when no one was watching, her fingers twitched again. Her heart raced. She quickly pressed her hand against her gown, hoping no one noticed. Outside the mansion, the night grew darker. The sound of crickets filled the air. Somewhere far away, destiny was moving silently towards Naomi's proud heart. And the question hung quietly in the air. Was she really free? Or was the nightmare waiting to return? The mansion shone like a palace that night. Bright lights covered the wide compound as cars with shining bodies lined the driveway. Chief Obina had invited family, friends, and business partners for a grand dinner. The long dining table was filled with roasted meat, steaming rice, bottles of wine, and golden plates. Laughter and music filled the air. Naomi sat at the head of the table, wearing a flowing red gown that sparkled under the lights. Diamonds glittered around her neck, and her face carried the proud smile of a queen. She lifted her glass high. "To my freedom," she said loudly. "I am living proof that nothing can stop a child of money." The guests clapped and cheered. Some raised their glasses too. The air was filled with joy. Naomi laughed and sipped her wine slowly, enjoying every eye that was fixed on her. But then it happened. The glass slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. Clink! The sound echoed across the hall. Naomi's hand began to shake uncontrollably. Her eyes rolled back. Before anyone could understand, she collapsed to the ground. "Naomi!" her mother screamed, rushing to her. But Naomi was already jerking violently, her legs kicking the chair, her arms hitting the floor. Foam spilled from her mouth as her expensive gown tore against the edge of the table. Gasps filled the room. "She's falling again," one guest whispered. Another shook his head. "But I thought she was healed." And then a low voice said the words that cut through the air like a knife. "Maybe the poor boy was the only true healer." The hall grew heavy with silence and fear. Chief Obina stood frozen, his proud face now pale. His powerful hands trembled as he reached for his daughter but could not stop her shaking. The same girl who had once bragged that money could buy everything was now rolling helplessly on the polished floor, her cries swallowed by the sound of her own suffering. Her friends, the same ones who once cheered her, stepped back in fear. Some even covered their noses as if ashamed to be near her. "My God, not again," Naomi's mother wept, holding her head in her hands. The nightmare had returned, stronger than before. The great hall was in chaos. Naomi lay weakly on the floor, her gown torn, her breathing heavy. Sweat poured down her beautiful face as her body trembled. The proud smile she once carried was gone, replaced with pain and fear. Chief Obina knelt beside his only daughter, his strong hands shaking as he held her head. His eyes, always firm and bold, now poured out tears like a helpless child. "My daughter, my only child, please hold on," he cried. Beside him, his wife clutched Naomi's hand tightly, her voice breaking. "God, why us? Why now?" She turned to her daughter, her face wet with tears. "Naomi, my jewel, please allow us to call that boy Johnson. He is the only one who ever helped you." Naomi's lips trembled. Pride had always lived in her heart, but in that moment it began to crack. Her voice was faint, broken like glass. "Mama, Papa, call him. Please call him." The guests stood in shock. Some whispered to one another, "Didn't they drive him away?" "Yes," another replied quietly, "but maybe he was the true healer after all." Chief Obina's eyes lit with a desperate hope. He stood quickly, shouting at his guards, "Find him, please! Find Johnson now! Search every corner, every street! Bring him to me, no matter the cost!" The guards ran out of the mansion, their torches glowing in the darkness. They asked questions at the roadside. They entered the market. They knocked on doors. But everywhere they went, the answer was the same. "He does not live here anymore." "Johnson? Ah, that poor cleaner. He left some days ago." "He is gone to the city. We don't know where." Back at the mansion, Naomi grew weaker, her head resting on her mother's lap. Her once sharp tongue now whispered only one word over and over again. "Johnson, please, come, please." Her mother's tears dropped on her face. "Hold on, my daughter. They will find him. Just hold on." But deep in the night, as the guards returned one by one with empty hands, the truth settled in the hearts of everyone. Johnson was gone and unreachable. Naomi lay stretched weakly on her wide, soft bed. The gold curtains of her room swayed gently, but the beauty of her chamber meant nothing now. Her hands trembled on the sheets, her lips pale and dry. Tears rolled slowly down her cheeks as she whispered one name again and again, her voice cracking with pain. "Johnson, please. I'm sorry. I need you." Her once proud voice, the voice that had mocked and laughed at him, was now filled with nothing but desperation. Her mother sat by her side, wiping her forehead with a wet cloth, crying silently. Chief Obina stood at the window, his fists clenched, his powerful shoulders shaking with helplessness. "But where can we find him? Where could he be?" the chief whispered bitterly. But no answer came. The mansion was silent, heavy with sorrow. Far away, in the shining city, life was very different. Johnson stepped into his new office, the glass walls glittering in the sunlight. He wore a neat blue suit, a stethoscope around his neck. Nurses and workers greeted him with respect, bowing their heads as he passed. "Good morning, Dr. Johnson," they said with smiles. And Johnson, for the first time in many years, smiled back without shame. He placed his old medicine bottle carefully on the desk, like a treasure, and sat proudly in his chair. His eyes shone with dignity. The market cleaner of yesterday was now a man of honor. As the city bustled outside with cars and busy streets, Johnson's laughter filled the office. A new chapter had opened for him, one that promised hope and greatness. But at that very same moment, in the grand mansion of Chief Obina, Naomi's soft cries continued. Her body shook weakly as she gripped her mother's hand. "Johnson, please, save me," she whispered, her tears soaking the pillow. The bitter irony hung in the air. The one person she once rejected was the only one who could save her. But now he was gone, far away, lost in a new life. And the question trembled like a shadow over her fate. Would Naomi ever cross paths with Johnson again? Or was she doomed to suffer the return of her nightmare forever?